Casting live from the Trichomes.com studios in Southern California. It's time for your Morning Buzz. We bring you late-breaking news that keeps you up to date with what's happening in the cannabis industry.
All right, good morning. Today is Friday, April 29th, and these are your top cannabis news headlines. First up, we've got Kellogg, Pepsi, and other major brands asking Congress to stop marijuana-infused copycats. And next, we have bankers associations from all 50 states push the Senate to pass marijuana banking reform as part of a large-scale bill. Only going with two headlines today because there's a lot of fluff out there and a lot of, Schumer's aides pushing things on and talking about why it's not happening and stuff that, well, it's all just fluff because realistically, we were told we were going to have a bill by the end of this month. And you know what? It's the end of the month. And luckily for us, they came aboard and told us, oh, well, it's not going to happen this time. But really, again, it's things that we've gotten into on this channel that are holding it back. It's making sure that the horses stay in front of the cart. So they've got a lot of stuff to do before they have their ducks in a row, so to speak. So getting right into the first stories. Let's go with Kellogg, Pepsi, and other major brands asking for Congress to stop marijuana-infused copycats. Major food and beverage companies like Pepsi, General Mills, and Kellogg are asking Congress to do more to prevent the proliferation of marijuana-infused copycat products that mimic their well-known brands. In a letter led by the Consumer Brand Association that was sent to congressional lawmakers on Wednesday, more than a dozen companies and industry trade associations said that the misleading packaging of cannabis products that are modeled in the style of popular commercial items poses a public safety risk, particularly for children. Here's a quote. Children are increasingly threatened by the unscrupulous use of famous brand logos, characters, trademarks, and trade dress on THC-laced edible product, the letter says. While cannabis and incidental amounts of THC may be legal in some states, the use of these famous marks, clearly without approval from the brand owners, on food products has created serious health and safety risks for consumers, particularly children who cannot tell the difference between these brands' true products and copycat THC products that leverage the brand's fame for profit, it continues. I don't see where it goes on to say that or acknowledge that most of these brand knockoffs are in the illicit market. I would venture a guess to say that most of these brands are brands that are not from licensed environments, thus making them illicit projects. And ultimately, I think we should talk about involving themselves into supporting the legalization debate so that there's more brands to talk about where there's something to do about it. Because go ahead and try to sue a legacy or illicit brand, right? Real quick, on to the next story before we get into questions and stuff like that is the Bankers Association from all 50 states push Senate to pass marijuana banking reform as part of large-scale banking bill. Let's see. Banking associations representing all 50 states and one territory, U.S. territory, sent a letter to the Senate on yesterday, imploring them to include marijuana banking reform in a large-scale manufacturing bill that's heading to a bicameral conference. The American Bankers Association, ABA, and the state associations that said that the Secure and Fair Enforcement Act, Safe Banking Act, is an urgently, quote unquote, urgently needed and widely supported bipartisan legislative solution to allow banks to handle the proceeds from state licensed cannabis businesses and the accountants, skilled trades, landlords, law firms, and other service providers they rely upon for legal operations. The inability of the state licensed cannabis industry to safe access and regulated financial services is a pressing concern for so many of our nation's communities and the banks that serve them. With state licensed cannabis businesses currently operating in 37 states and more states weighing legalization, we urge you to include Safe Banking Act in the compromised version of the Competes Act to address the critical issues as quickly as possible. And this is good. This is good because we've got banks talking about the safety issues, um, and realistically, that's where we need to be with this, because as we've denoted here, is it's not only the people who own these businesses or the people who work at these businesses. It's the patrons of these businesses, right? If there's a target on a cannabis dispensary and you happen to be in there, it would go to say pretty easily that you could be in harm's way if they're seen as an easy place to rob. And so finally, you're getting people on a larger level, and to do with the American banking associations finally speaking up about this was a good thing. So, Little Mac, good morning. Great to have you with us as always. Happy Friday. We're working out the bugs on the final programming and that kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure we're going to keep the morning buzz at least 3 days a week, if not a total of 4. But one of the things I had forgotten to mention, I have a standing appointment on Tuesday mornings at 7 a.m. over here. So Tuesdays are at least going to have to be rearranged to either a later time in the day, or or put off to maybe we have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday buzz. Definitely look open to seeing what you guys say in the comments. And then let's see, Little Mac 86, have to agree with the copyright issue. It's a cheap cop out to mimic others rather than create your own product, along with dangers to pets and kids. 100%. Um, really, again, most of these knockoffs, in my opinion and experience, has been a lot of them have come from the illicit market, as to where you have people who are knocking off these brands for quick, easy marketing notoriety. But when you're coming down to, let's say, brands that are coming out of California, or brands that are coming out of many of the other recreational states where they have legalization in, and it's working like that, is essentially you're seeing lawsuits happen. You're seeing people, when there's accountability to be had, well, people are being held accountable. I know a while back ago it happened with Starbucks and somebody who was making glass at one point. And by glass, I mean people who make bongs and pipes and that kind of thing. There was somebody sued by Starbucks. Just recently, another brand called Bloom. The Bloom brand is Bloom Vape brand. We had Casey Lee, one of the founders, on the show, the weekly roll up, I don't know, 4 or 5 months back, actually talking about this, is that he was hit over the head with a trademark infringement where his brand name Bloom, they came after him because the two O's intersected, like the O's in cool brand cigarettes. And realistically, Cool won, or there was a settlement on it, and Bloom had to rebrand. But we're not talking about chips or kids stuff. We're talking about a vape brand, of which really, I know where the O's came from, the interlocking O's came from, but at the same time, I really don't even think it posed a threat to the brand. And it's not talking about what Little Mac is talking about, what the article is talking about, as to where it's a threat to kids, because this product was obviously not intended for kids, and realistically wasn't branded towards them. So, yeah, yeah, exactly, Little Mac Chief. But they're losing. Good thing about that is the cigarette market, including Cool, losing traction every day. And I know that there's something coming down right now, and I think it's actually coming through to fruition here, where they're outlawing menthol cigarettes and menthols in general, to do with tobacco products and that kind of thing. So Cool might be a thing of the past here shortly. And when it comes down to brand recognition, they might have been going after this trademark lawsuit just for a little bit of their own brand recognition before the flame gets put out completely. So that's one of those funny things. There is that you've got other industries, such as the cigarette industry, um, that are trying to hold on to market share, and they're going directly after who they think is losing it. And really, in the case of Cool, they're wrong. about this brand Bloom, because you can't pick up Bloom at any convenience store where you can pick up cigarettes. It's a dispensary only thing, and they're a licensed only brand. So that's one of those things. Let's see, DRS Metal. Maybe if these companies would lobby our federal lawmakers to change cannabis laws, they could get into the game. I have to agree with you. And really, if at the very least they would lobby the federal lawmakers to get in front of this legalization thing, they'd be dealing with people, as we were talking about earlier, that they could hold accountable for it, right? And really, um, it's it's one of those things as to where most of the knockoffs they're talking about, and if you look at the pictures from the article, and you look at all the references that people are usually making about knockoff brands or dangerous edible brands or that kind of thing that have the high chews, or they have these different things that look like Doritos, they're all illicit brands of which they don't give a shit. Most of them have a different amount of THC or their main ingredient than is marked on the package. Most of them are sourced irresponsibly, and when it comes down to the illicit market and those type of things, they're out for a buck. So they're not really um, concerned with what the hell Kellogg's thinks. They just want to make money off their name real quick, and there's no way to hold them accountable. It's like patent law in China when it comes down to knockoffs and that kind of thing. There's different rules, and they know how to work with them. But there you go. Copyright laws are a waste of time at this point. And in some cases, 100%. And when it comes to this, we're talking about different categories. And while I'm not a patent attorney or anything close to it, I've needed attorneys most of my life. But yeah, it boils down to that the more legal our industry becomes, the more accountability towards these knockoff brands, or excuse me, the more accountability will be created, and these knockoff brands will have less place to be sold and to get out to. So, you know, um, yeah, that's really the gist of it. Is they should be lobbying, because essentially they're not losing market share to this. They're losing face. They're being associated with something that, in their eyes, might harm the wrong people by being left around by irresponsible people. That if kids are involved or somebody's pets consumes, it's more of a user error, right? And so regardless of the branding on the package, it's not like the kids are going to be able to go to your local trap shop and go pick up high chew with 300 milligrams of THC in it. And so again, um, just as DRS Metal had alluded to, is if these companies want to make a difference, go ahead and lobby behind the effort that the rest of the United States is wanting to get behind. 91% of these people, us people, are interested in seeing cannabis legal, and that's the people buying your chips and candies and so on and so forth. So, hey, Lost 96er, good morning. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. I noticed that our app put out a notification that we're live. I'm going to be checking in here mostly. But yeah, DRS Metal, sugar is more dangerous for children. Absolutely. Got to tell you, there's a lot of things more dangerous than cannabis, but to the point of, well, to the point we're talking about. It's not the point of the article, nor is it the point of the companies. They're not getting it yet. But to the point of what you're talking about, the most dangerous part about these knockoff brands right now, in my personal opinion, is the fact that they're not what they say they are in the first place. So they're either mislabeled with more THC or less THC. Again, it's more than likely not sourced in a responsible way, as to where pesticides and all that kind of stuff is probably still in play. When you're talking about the illicit market, by and large, in these knockoff brands, yeah, even from back when that whole Vapegate thing happened and the vitamin E acetate, people are going to use what makes them a quicker buck in that market, because it's short-lived, and again, there's no accountability on that. There's no customer service lines to call in and say, hey, I got sick. There's no repercussions, opposite of the law coming down on them. And on a state by state level, those things will be handled or eradicated based upon legalization and less market for those to go out. I mean, is the illicit market always going to be a part of the American culture? It's tough to say that it's going to disappear. Um, but what you can do as a big company, and somebody who's worried about their brand name, is you can get behind the people who are doing it correctly, so that you can show and out the others. So it's pretty tough to get behind their whole cause, because they're just worried about their name, and ultimately they're worried about the wrong thing. So hey, happy Friday, everybody! I see Steve Woods and Donkey Limit coming in. Good to see you guys. Happy Friday! Happy Friday! It is Friday, and good gracious, I'm ready for the weekend, of which I'll be working through. But hey, it's still the weekend. So yeah, let's see. New Jersey homegrown. Murphy, you said you were going to do it. Smoking Mirrors, Steve Woods. Um, right now, as far as the New Jersey homegrown, it does look like there's some hurdles in place. There looks like there's some lobbying efforts happening behind it, but as of right now, it does look like the homegrow is not being allowed at the moment in New Jersey, and that's a tough one, because the laws were drafted that way. So we'll go ahead and do an update. I've got this bill tracker that we're a part of, um, and while there's nothing of an update, not even to speak about on the books, there are going to be a few things coming up to these midterm elections that I think will be sneaking in there in the way of New Jersey and the home grow. As far as the odds go, I'm not going to lean one way or another on that, just because essentially it boils down to the voters, and really that first law got passed, and whether or not the home grow got slipped in there and kind of under the noses of the voters. Which, hey, I'm over here in California, and I voted no on California legalization, no on vote Prop 64. And it was because of all the stuff, all the little print, all the things that they didn't get right. But hey, it passed, and this is what we're dealt with here. So we have to deal with it. And unfortunately, that's a little bit like the case in New Jersey. So um, the the best advice I have there is again to start with a few people who believe the same thing, get a petition signed, and begin to go to the local lobbying efforts, and get to the doorsteps of the people who know they can be voted out in shorter term than the next. So yeah, let's see. Little Mac 86. I bought some canna honey and such at the dispo. I need a change for my homemade oil sometimes. I like explaining my experience with edibles to folks. Absolutely. When it comes down to regular medicating or daily use, a lot of the time, it's about changing, well, the vehicle and or the strains and that kind of thing, keeping it fresh, because it does really help with it's seemingly the endocannabinoid system, and well, the tolerance issues, I would say. Tolerance, and well, then boredom with eating the same thing or smoking the same thing every single day. If you can switch it up, it does seem to have a great effect, especially for those of us that do consume on a daily basis and need something that enhances things. Because again, the tolerance, all of a sudden you take things over and over again, and you're getting a lesser effect, and that's it. Steve Woods, I think everyone's going to vote them out, because to purchase medical marijuana, it cost me $4.80 per ounce, and that's an atrocity. I know that because New Jersey just opened up its sales for April 21st, is that a lot of the cannabis that was allotted to the medical dispensaries was there. Do you think it has anything to do with supply and demand, Steve? And Little Mac, edibles seem to help with your chronic back pain when smoking, or CBD isn't cutting it. And yeah, you got to go to that find, and this is that part about where we're at in cannabis and discovery and research, is we're still on the front lines of this antidotal medicine. I mean, we know what helps us feel good, but we find that through trial and error. So when you one thing is no longer cutting it, or really not doing what it used to for you, then trying something else out is usually a good uh, alternative. Just make sure it's not some nerds on a rope knockoff with 300 milligrams of questionable THC in it, right? DRS metal. People need to research their local elected leaders in state counties on their stance in cannabis. New Jersey still has reefer madness idiots in the state. Um, I am less familiar with the politics over there and who's running them, but when it comes down to why not to allow a home grow situation for people who voted this into states' rights, the pro con list is very short on the con list, and really it boils down to greediness both on the state and the people running that side of it, because we're talking about, again, the difference between the home grow and what you're seeing out here in San Bernardino, and the eradication of hundreds of thousands of plants, or 60,000 plus plants on a weekly basis, but millions of plants over the last 6 months. Um, it's just apples and elephants, right? There's no freaking comparison. We're talking about people who are going to have 3, 6, 7 plants involved in their house, and they're doing it to offset their expenditures. They're doing it to offset their needs. They're doing it for medical purposes, and really to not allow that is an atrocity. So I do hope that New Jersey gets their shit together on that. All right. All right. Well, I'm going to do something here real quick. And again, I want to thank everybody. I'm going to throw this up here real quick, but thank everybody for being here on the channel with us. If it's your first time, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us out, because of your help and because of the likes and subscribes that have been happening. We've been getting out there, and a couple other followers have been happening. A few more people have been in the comments. The conversation has been growing. So thanks a lot for everybody that's been participating. It's been helping out a lot, and you can see it in the people who are starting to see the show. Let's see here. I'm gonna go ahead and check into the Trichomes Community app, and we've got another thing going. And Mr. Wendell, I want to say good morning, and at December 23, good morning to you as well. And I believe you're checking in from Ireland, huh? So good morning, and top of the morning to you over there. Let's see here. I'm going back to the comments. Yeah, well, today again we went with just the two things, and the headlines for today had to do with the banking and then the knockoffs. And really, the reason we stuck at the two headlines is because the rest of the stuff is just posturing, and theoretical wise on why the Schumer bill hasn't come through. And really, it was just most of the news outlets not having enough shit to talk about with a so anyway, when it comes down to the important stuff, we're going to be tracking some more bills throughout the week next week. We will be keeping up on federal news, and we're going to be having a couple, it's not next week, but the week after, we'll have Steve Hopkins back in from the USCC to discuss hopefully some movement in the federal bracket as far as the Safe Banking Act, and when we're thinking about this bipartisan bill or any other bill coming through. Let's see. Have you seen the New Jersey Weed Man on Vice on YouTube? I have not seen the New Jersey Weed Man on Vice on YouTube. I'm going to now have to make a note and look that up. What is it? New Jersey Weed Man. I'll check it out, Steve Woods. And then, yeah, someone actually from the comments on Wednesday brought up, asked about North Carolina D8. And I know there was something that came through where they're trying to outlaw, but realistically, I didn't see where it was legal in the first place. So that search has come back inconclusive at this point. going to be looking into the bills over the weekend and see if we can't bring that up to something that's a little bit more certain about it. But as of right now, for the person who asked about D8 in North Carolina, I just, be careful, because I know right now that the hemp laws and that kind of thing protect a lot of hemp derived goods, but North Carolina, it seems, is still on the fence about whether or not they want those goods, especially D8, in there at all. So I'm sorry that that's so inconclusive, but really we're going to have to go look at the bills that are there and not really look through the news and that kind of stuff, because as of right now, it's on the fence, and I do believe there's a couple bills coming down the pike that could affect that. Yeah, Steve Woods. They think we're going to flood the black market when we use it for medicine. Oh my God, yeah, pretty much. That's it. It's like, hey, you guys can't do the home grow because essentially you're going to offset the taxes that we're collecting. You're going to offset, the money that's coming into the coffers that we've so well put together, right? It's the state, the state representatives and the people who are putting together these cannabis programs just really seem like they've lost their way with medical access. I know we've talked about that before. We'll do an update again next week on California's medical access law, because California, again, it forgot about its roots, and all of a sudden, we've got 62% of the state where medical patients don't have access, and that's just wrong. So there's a bill out there to allow, regardless of the counties opting in or opting out of cannabis. It doesn't matter if you don't want dispensaries there. It doesn't matter if you don't want um, other manufacturing or distribution there. What you do have to allow for in the state of California, because we passed that law first, is access for medical patients, so they don't have to drive 2 hours or go see a plug or do that type of thing. So really, we definitely want to make sure that the medical laws and the reason why we got this stuff done is accounted for, because that's what brought us to this point. That's what got us to this federal legalization debate, is states like California and Colorado and leaders, of the medical portion of it that got out there and put themselves out on Front Street and said, you know what, I am an epileptic and this does help me. I do this even though I can be persecuted and prosecuted for it. And that's safety and well-being is what's brought us to this point. And really, again, the states can't forget about that. Part of that is allowing people to grow their own medicine and to grow at home for leisurely activity if recreational is allowed, because you know what, not everyone can afford $480 an ounce. It's ridiculous. So Steve Woods, real quick, what app is this? It's called the Trichomes Community app. It's our app. We've got some links in there. It's invite only as of right now, but guess what? You're invited. I will make sure to get that out. And the reason why it's invite only is because we're in our beta period, of which we're just about to jump out to. Not to let any secrets or cats out of the bag, but we are going to be doing a full launch, making a whole scene out of it, PR release and that kind of thing. But we'll be opening it up to the public here shortly, relatively shortly. But yeah, would love to have you on, and we'll make sure that the link is out there. Let's see. Hey, here's a link of mine, and so you can go ahead and download the app at either store, Apple or Android, Google Play or the Apple Store, and in order to create an account, go ahead and follow this link over here with my name in it, and that's the invite code essentially. That'll allow you to create a profile and join the app. Yeah, there we go. Little Mac 86. We saw another poll that 66% of Americans now show support for legalization or reform. I mean, come on, Washington. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Absolutely. It's 66%. And I believe the 66% is about, like you said, broad legalization and reform. It's when you're talking about the American public and medical marijuana, again, you're up in the 90s, 90%. So yeah, where are you at, Washington? This is again, for someone who doesn't study the Constitution or know it too well, it's almost unconstitutional. You have 37 states with laws in place, and you're still thinking that it's okay to persecute and prosecute people for something that's been just vindicated as far as all the bullshit that people have been putting on it since I was around, and all this marijuana madness and all that kind of stuff. I mean, all that stuff's been disproven to beyond a point. And again, the only way you're dying from weed, is consuming 1,500 pounds at a time or having that shit fall on your head, killing you. So it's time for Washington to get behind its people. And we just saw some pardons and some commutations happen from the president, and really it leaves most of us wondering: is he pandering? And is he just trying to placate the people, or is this the beginning to some real reform? Is this the horses getting out in front of the cart? And that's tough to see at this moment, because essentially, if he doesn't have his act together, he's uh, going to have someone running against him that knows what cannabis is going to do for their campaign. So, with that being said, we do have the Friday weekly roll up coming up. I've got John Bond back in the house. We're going to have Jason with us as well today from us, Jason Kitamura. And yeah, we're going to be talking about a couple of things that happened during the week, and get into the comments and making sure that we recover what were the most popular topics, so that we can open up some discussion and yeah, basically provide some new perspective here on the weekly roll up. So definitely look forward to everybody coming. And if you guys have time at 12 PST or 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, it'd be great to see you. Otherwise, have a great weekend. We want to make sure everybody, stays up to date on what we got, Cannabis News Style. So thanks for tuning in. But have a great weekend. Stay safe, be well, and we'll catch up next Monday for sure, if I don't see you today at the weekly roll up. Thanks for everybody in the comments. Steve Woods, Little Mac 86, DRS Metal, 7-8, 7-10 versus 9. Let's see here. Thanks for joining in. I hope everybody has a fantastic day, and we'll talk soon. Donkey Limit, thanks a lot. Talk soon, guys.